Hey guys, Shinner here, back with another video. So, as you guys know, or may not know, I'm the indie author of the Shinnery series, the Chronicles of Wayne, and the Future Monster series. I have been writing for about 18 years. I started around 12 years old with my first book, Shobu Samurai, Project Aryoku. And it's somewhat doing a success. It's very small because I'm an indie author, like I'm not really well known. But I'm hoping YouTube will help me expand that. As a matter of fact, let me show you guys. The first book in the Shinnery series is right here. It's a pretty thick book. If you like anime, light novels, One Piece, Naruto, Shaman King, Rave Master, Bleach, you'll definitely love the Shinnery series. I think it'll be a book series for you. This is the first book. It's available on Amazon for $9.99. If LGBT is more your thing, fantasy, werewolves, things like that, we have Love Be Damned, The Chronicles of Wayne. Very shorter book. This one goes for $6.99 on Amazon. I'll get into more about the books in a different video about like each one. But yeah, these are my two first books in their respective series. If you guys want to give that a check out. For now, I just want to talk to you guys about how to write a book and how I do it. So I use a 5-step outline. It's called The Beginning, The Escape, The Quest, The Ultimate Test, and The Return. And we're going to get into it without further ado, and then we'll wrap up the video. Step 1, the beginning. Create your beginning outline. What's the story? Who's the main character? How does the power system work? What does he or she want to do? Well, let's get into more detail about that. The beginning introduces us to the main character. Who is she? Or who is he? Are they a protagonist, a heroic character, one with like a good vibe, or are they an antagonist, like a villainous character, anti-hero? It's very rare that we do take the villain side role, but it can be done. Introduce us to the main character, the one we're going to be invested in and connected to. But the best part is, it doesn't have to be in the very beginning of the story. You can introduce them in any kind of way. You can introduce them in the middle through a side character that will be joining our hero, like Shaman King, when we meet the human character, Mika, and he meets Yo later, and Yo is the main character. Or it can be done where, in Naruto, the first character we meet is Naruto painting the Hokage's faces. That was done in a fun way, with Naruto painting the faces, and then through Yo, it was done in a cool way because Mika, who is a human, sees all these ghosts, and Yo hanging out with all these ghosts in a graveyard. So, introducing your main character can be done in any sort of way. Then we need to know, what does he want? What does he desire? And is it impossible or impossible to get? For Luffy, he wants to be the king of the pirates. For Naruto, he wants to be Hokage. For Yo, he wants to be the Shaman King. For Ash, he wants to be a Pokemon master. Those are all possible goals, but it's going to take a while for them to get to. And it doesn't always have to be like a long-term goal. Think of Goku. He just wants to be the strongest fighter. So fighting opponents that are stronger than him all the time gets Goku his simple but great goal. How does your main character feel about it? Are they sad? Like, is it something where, like, with Midoriya, who wants to be a hero, but he doesn't have powers, is he sad about that? Is it something like Luffy where he's carefree? You know, he wants to be the king of the pirates, but he'll take his time getting there himself. Is it something like Ichigo where he just wants to protect his friends? Or is it something like Naruto where he feels alone and he wants to become Hokage so he can be acknowledged by his village? The beginning introduces us to the setting where the story takes place. Like, you're introducing, it doesn't all have to take place in one setting, but it introduces us to like their world. Like, you know, bring us into the Hidden Leaf Village, bring us into the Grand Line, bring us into Ichigo's home world, you know? The main character, we also learn his goal that he wants to obtain, which we already went through. Naruto wanted to become Hokage. Luffy wants to be the king of the pirates. Asta wants to be the Wizard King. Ash wants to be the Pokemon Master. And then, you know, you'll use your 5 senses for this. Use your eyes to see the world. Bring us into what you see. Use your ears so we can hear what the characters are saying. Use your sense of smell to smell the world around you. Touch things around you to get a feel for the world around you. And taste, I suppose, if you're eating something. But that's pretty generic. But yeah, part 1, the beginning just kind of introduces us to the character, the world, also the magic system. I'm almost forgetting about that. We're going to get into more of a magic system in my next video, but usually it's like chakra, ura, devil fruits, grimoires. For me, it's aura and byoku, and if you read the Shinri series, and love be damned, they just naturally can shapeshift or turn into monsters. But yeah, we'll get into part 2 right now. If the beginning seems kind of confusing, just feel free to ask me questions in the comment section and I'll explain it a bit more. Step 2, the escape. This is what happens or an event in the character's life that makes them go on an adventure, a quest, or seek something. So let's get into that. Now that you have started to figure out who your character is and what they want, we can set up for the escape. This is the motivation your character needs to start his quest or adventure, like what happened in the beginning of the story to make them want to leave home. Is it the threat of a powerful enemy? Usually like someone destroys their village so they had to run away. Or is it curiosity of the outside world, like Ash Ketchum getting his first Pokemon and going on an adventure? Or was he taken by force? Is it something where your main character got kidnapped or they were taken away from or their family was taken away from them? Play with some ideas in your head and make it fun because the next part of writing gets even better. For my story, at only 4 years old, Shobu Samurai's parents were killed before his eyes. The sight of his parents' death awakens a blood beast inside of his body. With unbound power, Shobu obliterated his hometown with no recollection of doing so. Now, 10 years later, Shobu sets off a quest for revenge, but instead faces a choice to save his home from powerful enemies. That's an example from my book. Shobu's parents were killed before his eyes, and his blood beast that was inside his body took over and it obliterated his hometown. Shobu for 10 years believes that these villains that killed his family are the reason why his whole village was destroyed as well, the Light Civilization. So your character can be like Naruto, where his quest is like, going on missions to become Hokage. Luffy, to become the king of the pirates, you've got to get a crew, and you got to travel the Grand Line, make it all the way to Laugh Tale, and find the One Piece. For Ichigo, it's the constant threat of his friends being attacked. Here's a great example for Ichigo, actually. When Rukia got taken from his world back to Soul Society, Ichigo's motivation to leave his hometown, to leave his safety, was to go save his friend Rukia. So there's all kind of ways. Yu Yu Hakusho, Yusuke risked his life to save a little boy that was being hit by a car. And so Yusuke died. But instead of going to heaven or hell, Yusuke is given a chance to become human again by becoming a spirit detective. And just showing you solve these cases for us, we'll give you a second chance at life because you're a good person. So there's all kind of ways to do it. Asta, the goat of anime for me, to become the Wizard King, he had to leave his village and, go train under the Magical Knights, pass the Magical Knight exam, and, go on adventures with his team. So, yeah, the escape is what's going to elevate your story to have your character leave hometown. Again, if you have questions, just comment below about the escape and then put whatever ideas you have or questions, and I'll answer them the best I can. Let's move on now to part 3. Step 3, the quest. Here's where you create your subplots, your side characters, and motivation for your character, as well as side characters to help them grow. Make sure any loose subplots, if you're not making a sequel to your book or trilogy, that you wrap them up before the climax. You don't want to leave anything left open. So let's get into explaining that. The quest is where the bulk of your book exists, and the most fun. Anything can happen in the quest, but there has to be a point to it, unless it's going to be left open for future books or spin-offs. This is where you build on your character's main motivation, you introduce side characters that can join them on their adventure, as well as give your side characters goals of their own. Think like Sasuke, who's a side character in Naruto, whose motivation is to kill his older brother Itachi for killing his family. Think like Zoro, who joins Luffy. His motivation is to become the world's greatest swordsman. So to do that, he has to beat Mihawk. But he also is helping Luffy with his goal, being his right-hand man. And if Luffy's gonna be the king of the pirates, Zoro swears to him he's never gonna lose again after losing to Mihawk. He's like, I'm gonna be the world's greatest swordsman, and I'm never gonna lose again. That's a great motivation. Think of let me think of some other side characters really fast. Orihime from... not really. Because she mostly wants to be with Ichigo. But, that's a lie. Orihime's motivation is to be the shield to Ichigo. She wants to be able to protect Ichigo at all times. That's actually her motivation. And then we know in My Hero Academia, all of their motivations sort of accumulate to being like, a hero for one reason or another. I love I think her name's Urahaka Ochako. The float girl, her motivation is just money, but it's because her family are poor and they gave her everything to get her into UA. So I love that. That's a motivation that's selfish, but it's also selfless because she's doing it for her family, as well as being a hero. I don't want to say I'm great at this, but I have been doing it so long, I feel like I'm a master at writing quests. Not only because I've done it so long, but just because I have fun. I know how to have fun with it. I know how to give my own side characters subplots of their own and motivations. If you read Shobu Samurai or Shobu vs. Shimmy, the Sword of Light, you know what I'm talking about. I don't want to spoil too much here because obviously I want you guys to read my own books, but just trust me. You can become a master at writing subplots and the quest too. You just got to have fun with it. However, before we reach the climax of the book, all subplots have to close. Typically, I leave a subplot open if it leads to a sequel or I plan on having a spinoff. But if you're just doing one story, you want to kind of resolve those before the climax happens. And you can have multiple subplots going at once as long as you have a way to set them up or pay them off later. Now, let's get into the best part of the book, the climax. Step 4. The climax. This is my favorite part of any book. This is the part that I plan out before I even start writing the book. I already know what I want to lead up to. This is Frieza versus Super Saiyan Goku. This is Luffy versus Blackbeard. This is Naruto versus Sasuke for the last time. This is Asta versus Lucifario. Trust me, guys, this is the height of your book. And it doesn't always have to lead to a battle. Sometimes it's a truth. Sometimes it's a choice. But it's whatever you've been leading up to since the escape. Whatever caused your character to go out on their adventure. So let's get into it. Part 4 of your book, the climax, is the motivation of what your character, the reason why they left home in the first place. What forced them to leave? Was it a powerful enemy that they have to defeat? Is it a choice that they have to make choosing between this or that? Like, I can't tell you, but I can't decide that for you. Or is it like, a battle like Ash Ketchum in the Pokemon League? This is the most pivotal point in your book, and it's what you've been leading up to. For me, this typically leads to a grand battle or a war, but I change it up from time to time with the ultimate choice. Your climax should be the hype of your book. And there's only one more step after this. But just remember, I can't plan your climax out for you, but your climax directly involves your escape. They go hand in hand. If it was a powerful enemy, it's probably going to be a battle. If it was a choice, or if it leads to a choice, like, let's say, revealing the truth to the world, what was that movie? Where they lived in, these people lived in the woods for a long time. They didn't know they lived in modern times because they had lived in the woods, so they were living in a fake civilization. Would you tell them the truth that you found out, or would you let them live in the peace as they've been? Because if you expose the truth to them, it could drive them crazy. So that's an example of a choice, but the climax can go however you want. I usually go with the battle because battles are great. But the climax is the peak of your book. It is the most hype. There's one more step, but there's a lot to it. So let's get into it. All right, guys, welcome to the finale of your book. This is what we call the return, or generally the end of the book. There are actually 3 types of returns, though: succession, tragedy, and change of heart. But we're going to break them down into three different sections. The first return is the general succession. It's the original ending, the usual way a book ends. The hero gets what he wants and he succeeds, or he gets what he wanted and succeeds. When you write a book, this is the traditional ending return. This is the first type of ending, but also the most traditional. The hero gets what he wanted when he sets out on his escape, and he succeeded. This is the normal success quest. He triumphed in the battle against the villain in the climax, or if he had to choose between 2 different things, he made a choice that impacted his world in a positive way. And it's one that I generally use in my books.
For example, Red in Pokemon. It's about becoming the Pokemon champion, fulfilling his Pokedex, and becoming a Pokemon master. And basically, that's like the way every book ends, you know? Like, generally, Harry defeats Voldemort. Naruto defeats Sasuke. Luffy's going to defeat Blackbeard. Asta took down Lucifario. It's the way a book generally ends. So I don't think this one needs too much explanation. So we'll just move on to the Return Ending 2 right now. The Return Ending 2. Change of Heart. The character gets what he wanted, but changes his mind. This one is a little bit more complicated, but not too complicated. This ending, the hero gets what he wants, but he changes his mind at the last second. If you've read Shobu Samurai, I'm not going to spoil it, but you already know what I'm talking about. So, let's use a different example. Let's go with Hercules. And Hercules, his whole thing is that he wants to return to Olympus, and in the end, he can. He's defeated Hades, he's defeated the Titans, he's proved himself a god by risking his life to save Meg. He can go to Olympus. But at the end of this, and we all know this because this is like Hercules is well known. It's a great Disney movie, one of my favorites. But he chooses to stay on Earth with Meg. He chooses to be a human. Through all his hard work and progress, training with Phil, defeating the Titans, risking his life for the girl he loves, he gets to be a hero. He gets to become a god. But he wants something else. He wants to be with Meg. This ending, the hero gets what he wants, but he desires something of equal or greater in the end. This is the final type of return. Tragedy. The hero gets what he wanted, but at a terrible cost. Let's get into that explanation. This is the last one we will talk about. Your character gets what he wanted, but at a terrible price. What does that mean? The best example I can give you is Infamous. In Infamous, you're giving a choice to play either a hero or a villain. And that's chosen from the moment you begin the game. In the beginning of the game, you have these electric powers, and there's food that's being brought down to your city from above, like from the government. And you can either share the food with people and get instant hero status, or you can shock everybody around you and get instant infamous status. And this changes throughout the game. Like if you attack people, innocent people, you get your infamous bar filled up, and you get stronger powers. Or you just heal people throughout the game, and you get like good powers, but they're not as strong. Anyways, the point for this example is I played a hero the entire time of the game, the entire time. But there is a part in the game just before the climax where you have a choice to save 10 doctors that can cure a plague in a city or save your girlfriend. You have 10 seconds. You can only make it to one, and you don't have to choose, but if you don't choose, everybody dies. So, like I said, I had played hero the entire time of the game. So I was like, okay, this will be the one selfish choice I made. I'll save my girlfriend, and then I'll go defeat the villain, and we'll save the town. Well, when I made it up to my girlfriend, it wasn't her. It was a different woman. And then my girlfriend was one of the 10 doctors that fell to her death. I said, oh my God. I paused the game immediately, reset the level, and I went to do it again. I was like, okay, I get it. It was a morale choice. You have to save the 10 doctors because your girlfriend will be one of them, and it proves that you're a good person. Well, when I saved the 10 doctors, my girlfriend was now over there, and she fell to her death. I forgot to mention that when I saved my girlfriend that wasn't my girlfriend and didn't save the 10 doctors, that hero status I had the entire game instantly went to infamous. It changes to infamous because you made the wrong choice. But if you save the 10 doctors and you've been a hero the entire time and you let your girlfriend die, you keep that hero status. And it took me only after saving the 10 doctors and realizing that she was not one of them anymore that I was like, oh, I understand. Heroes have to make a sacrifice. You have to give up what you want. Peter Parker explained this in Spider-Man 1 as well as reinforced in Spider-Man 2. To be a hero, you have to give up what you want. And you have to do, for the sake of the world. The Last of Us is controversial because of that. Because in The Last of Us, you play Joel and Ellie, and you protect Ellie throughout the whole game. But at the end, it's either Ellie sacrifices her life against her will to save the entire world, create a vaccine, or, you be Joel, kill all the doctors, and, save Ellie, but doom the world. So it's a gray choice, but that involves tragedy. That's the point of tragedy. And people love The Last of Us. They'll defend The Last of Us. Last of Us people do not attack me for this ending, because I'm just giving two examples. Last of Us is an example of tragedy if chosen by the villainous way, and Infamous, if you save the 10 doctors, is tragedy in a good way because you have to give up your girlfriend. So those are all the endings. Now let's wrap up the video.
All right, guys, that's going to wrap up today's video. Again, these videos are sponsored by myself, the author of the Shinri series. Shobu Samurai Patrick Aryoku is your anime, manga, fantasy, high fantasy fiction series. Follow the adventures of Shobu Samurai, his friends Shinra Makai, Xana Kuriai as they fight to save the world, or enter the Lebby Dam universe. Cotton Candy, Full Moons, Fable Lovers, A Cursed Virgin's Bite, If You Go, Where Monsters Dance, Red Will Rain Over Your House, Love Be Damned. Enter a trilogy about love, werewolves, wolfmen, vampires, white witches, warlocks, and the battle between good and evil. Whichever suits your fancy, I'd love to appreciate the support, or just give me a like, follow, check me out on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and I'll see you guys later.